what's happening, everyone? It is I, the man, the myth, the mustache, Tim here, and I've got a brand new video for you. Welcome to part 2 of What If Deku Had a Magic Quirk. Please sit back and relax because you are in for a treat. With that little intro out of the way, let's get this story going, shall we? The next morning, Midoriya was not awakened by the blaring of his alarm, but rather by the fierce pounding on the front door that woke him up and startled his mother. Already having an idea of who it was, the drowsy teen dragged himself out of bed and to the front door. His mother answered the door first, allowing Midoriya to see a familiar shock of ashen blonde hair standing in front of her. The freckled magician grumbled as he walked over to the door, seeing his best friend standing there, already dressed for their first day at UA. He briefly glanced at a clock nearby, seeing it was still only 6 a.m. Kachan, why? I don't plan on being late on my first day, and I'll be damned if I let you be late either, nerd. It's 6 in the morning. Now stop shouting before you wake up the rest of the neighborhood. The emerald-eyed boy quietly hissed at his loud companion, dragging him in by the collar into his house. I'll make some breakfast. Would you like anything, Katsuki? Inko patted her son on the shoulder before glancing at his crimson-eyed friend. Nah, I'm good, Auntie. Thanks anyways. The petite woman nodded before setting off to make breakfast for her and her son. Midoriya rubbed his eyes, wiping away the last bits of sleep from them. He had already given up on the idea of getting any more sleep now that Bakugo was here, so he chose to instead change into his uniform. Within 20 minutes, the juniper-haired youth walked down the stairs, adjusting his tie as he walked down and sat at the table. Hurry up, Abracadabra! We should be getting there already! Midoriya's eyes glowed slightly as they glared at his friend. Kachan, we didn't even wake up this early to train for the entrance exams. Let me eat my breakfast in peace! He promptly sat at the table and thanked his mother for the food. We'll leave when I'm done, and we'll have ample time to get there. Just a few minutes later, the duo left, receiving a hug and a wishing of good luck from Inko before being sent on their way. By the time they arrived at the academy, the doors were just being unlocked. See, Kachan, if we had left at the time you wanted, we would have been stuck waiting by the gate. The freckled magician shook his head. We have nearly identical IQ levels, yet at random times, you seem to demonstrate the complete opposite. Shut up, you damn nerd! They entered the academy, immediately becoming somewhat lost in its enormity. By the time they finally tracked down their homeroom, they managed to waste 20 minutes. And if we had left at the time you wanted, we probably would have been late, wouldn't we, nerd? One of Midoriya's eyes twitched as he tried not to punch his friend. His anger dissipated as he saw that several others were already in the room. Annoyance quickly followed as he recognized the bespectacled participant from the exams. He normally wasn't bitter enough to hold a grudge, but the sheer rudeness of the other teenager still irritated Midoriya. Clearly, the blue-haired young man also recognized him as he quickly moved over to them as they entered the room. Midoriya tensed a bit, eyes narrowing slightly at the approaching figure, not expecting for the male to suddenly bow right in front of him. I humbly apologize for my choice of words during the entrance exams. The teen rose up stiffly, his back ramrod straight. You ended up helping that girl in the exams, and clearly understood that there was more to the test than it appeared. No. I really didn't know anything about that. The suddenness of the apology had really put Midoriya on the spot. I just wanted to help her out. Isn't that what any hero would do? How humble. I am truly honored that we will be in the same class. Clearly that response only worsened the situation. I saw you come in with someone else. Is he your... The tall boy fell silent as he spotted where Bakugo went, a righteous anger filling his eyes as he marched over. He began chopping the air and lecturing the blonde-haired boy. Despite his lingering confusion, Midoriya was just glad that the attention was no longer on him. That piece didn't stick around as a familiar brunette walked into the room. Hey, you're the guy who saved me during the exams. Midoriya quickly turned around, recognizing the girl. I've been wanting to thank you again for doing that. My name's Ochaka Uaraka. Well, nice to meet you, Uaraka, I guess. The freckled magician sighed internally at how he was already being bombarded by people. He silently cursed his abysmal luck, having wanted a quiet morning to continue reading his spellbook. What's your quirk anyways? It looked so cool when you made those giant rock creatures come out of the ground and then pulled me out on that green bubble. She put a finger to her lips as she went into deep thought. What kind of quirk would let you do such different things? Magic. My quirk is called magic. The answer made the girl tilt her head in curiosity. The full potential of my quirk is still pretty up in the air. All we know is that using certain verbal triggers and enough energy, I'm able to influence the world around me, to an extent. Whoa, that's so amazing! Uraraka's eyes shine brightly. Think of all you can do with a quirk like that! Is that what your book is for? Yeah, for whatever reason, whenever I open this book, it automatically translates to Japanese for me, allowing me to read it seamlessly. He smiled and opened the book, his eyes beginning to glow again. Uraraka's excitement drew the attention of a few other students, who went over to see what their classmates were doing. Midoriya began to grow uncomfortable with all the attention on him. He was much too used to Bakugo having the majority of the limelight. Noticing his friend's discomfort, Bakugo abruptly called out to the other classmates. Hey, stop crowding the damn nerd, will ya? Everyone noticed the tense stance that Midoriya had adopted, and quickly backed off. The blonde huffed and went back to ignoring Ida, as he continued reclining on his chair, feet propped up on the desk. Once he was rid of all the undesirable attention, Midoriya began to idly wonder where their teacher could be, seeing as the classroom was already full. His question was answered as the sound of the door sliding open caught his attention, making him turn around to see who it was. He blinked as all his eyes encountered was open air. Midoriya's eyes darted around until they met with two dark eyes staring up from a grungy yellow sleeping bag. He yelped at the appearance of the man, not expecting him to be there. I could hear you all from several doors down. Such lack of subtlety can be truly crippling to the ability of a hero. Even though the man spoke monotone, his voice still held a cutting edge. Here, put these on and meet me down at the grounds outside. I expect you to be quick about it. The scraggly-looking man pulled out several gym uniforms from his sleeping bag and tossed them perfectly onto the desk for the students to sift through. With that done, he finally exited from his bag's hold, dressed almost entirely in black, before walking off, presumably to where they were all supposed to meet. The class was still for several seconds, an awkward silence filling the once boisterous room. Guess we better go? Midoriya was still a bit confused from the rudeness of it all. Several murmurs of agreement followed as everyone collected the uniforms and went to get changed. The group of students arrived at the field, seeing the man who was apparently their homeroom teacher standing there, waiting for them. He stood there and gave a critical gaze, analyzing all the students carefully. Took you all long enough. My name is Shota Aizawa, your homeroom teacher. He stalked over to an area with marks indicating it was for a ball toss competition. Today, we'll be testing out the full potential of your quirks, something education today smothers in order to keep the illusion that everyone is equal in the world. Huh, but isn't orientation today? Uraraka attempted to question the man, who silenced her as his gaze met hers. Orientation isn't necessary. It won't help you at all in this course. Therefore, I have full permission to dismiss your attendance from the event. Is that understood? He heard no complaints as he continued. Now, on to the test. The class remained silent as the man's eyes glanced at all of them, settling on Bakugo as he raised a finger. You there? What was your ball toss record before you came here? 70 meters. Why do you need to know? Midoriya raised an eyebrow at his friend's smug tone at the already impressive score. I want you to demonstrate. Take this ball and throw it as hard as you can. He dropped an iron orb into the hands of Bakugo. And I want you to use your quirk. A scary grin appeared on the short-tempered teen's face, scaring some of his classmates as he stepped up to the line. He reared back his arms, sparks already falling from his hand. With a cry of, Die! He unleashed a monstrous explosion that sent the ball soaring into the sky. Aizawa revealed the score of the boy, displaying a number that was 10 times the original score. This is what our goal here is. To draw out your fullest potential to become a hero, starting with your quirk. Everyone began to excitedly chatter, eager to show off their quirks, until one of them was foolish enough to mention it would be fun. Fun, huh? Well, shall we see if it's so fun that your enrollment at this school is at risk if you place last in this test? Protest immediately broke out. Shut it. UA is a prestigious academy, and the hero course is not some joke. I determine whether or not who will continue. So if you plan to stay, then impress me. Go beyond what you think you can. Go beyond plus ultra. Despite the stakes, the class was inspired to push themselves as hard as they could. The first test was a 50-meter dash, in which Midoriya was reading through his spellbook to find a spell to enhance his speed, only for it to be snatched away. Hey! He turned around indignantly, only to be met with Aizawa's criticizing glare. I heard that Yue let you use this on a technicality, since it was so closely linked to your quirk. But it is glaringly obvious this is your weakness. He handed the book back over. Such a weakness is dangerous in the real world, kid. If you can't prove that you can use your quirk effectively without keeping your nose in that book, your hero career isn't going to look so good for the future. The school may have been lenient before, but the Hero Commission and school board can be ruthless. As the scraggly-haired man left, Midoriya felt a small pit form in his stomach. Aizawa was right. Despite memorizing some spells, Midoriya had let his spellbook become a handicap. He looked down at the book and snapped it shut. He would be doing this without the tome, based on what he had learned and remembered. As he began lining up with the odd blue-haired boy from earlier, his mind was racing, trying to remember the right spell. Midoriya felt his anxiety grow as they readied for their signal to start. A buzzer sounded, and the boy next to him seemed to fly forward at the speed he went. Then Midoriya remembered the spell. Twista Combatitus! An aura surrounded him, and Midoriya dashed forward as well. He was still slower than Ida, but he could feel himself move quicker. As he crossed the finish line, he listened carefully for his time, smiling at the announcement of 5.45 seconds. He glanced around, noting the brief look of approval from his teacher. Despite his initial success in recalling spells, he couldn't find many others that fit with other tests, except for 3. In the grip strength test, he created a field of energy that squeezed the machine, yielding an impressive score of 150 kilograms. Next, in the standing long jump, Midoriya very riskily repelled himself with high-speed wind funnels, barely keeping himself steady as he cleared the box. Finally, it was time for the rest of the class to do the ball throw. Midoriya was the last to go. He felt his nerves flare up as Uraraka, who had gone before him, had gotten infinity as a score. He stepped up to the line, gulping as he held the iron orb in his hand. Hey, abracadabra! Midoriya's eyes instantly shot over in irritation, only to be met with a sincere look from Bakugo. You better outdo the rest of these extras. You got that? Midoriya was silent for a second before chuckling. He closed his eyes and took a calming breath before opening his eyes, several spells lurking on his tongue as he took a step back before hurling the ball forward. Kimocha Objectia! A green ray shot from his hand and hit the orb dead center, accelerating its speed and height exponentially. His classmates cheered, already waiting to see what score he would get. After a few moments, Aizawa revealed the final score, 707.2 meters. Bakugo went over to his friend, jokingly punching him for beating his score as well. The class gathered together, waiting anxiously while Aizawa revealed the scores. Midoriya not only felt relief, but pride in his ranking as 8th, obtained without his spellbook. However, the one who did place last, Minoru Mineta, seemed ready to pee himself as he looked up at an intense gaze from their teacher. I guess I won't be expelling anyone today. All the students' jaws dropped as they began questioning their teacher. All this was a logical ruse to force you to push yourself harder. A hero is never stagnant. They should always be pushing themselves to new heights. A lesson I wanted to instill in all of you. After a quick dismissal from their cunning instructor, they were all allowed to pick up whatever they needed before heading home. By the time Midoriya had gotten back to his house, he could barely walk from the mixture of physical and emotional exhaustion. After dinner and a quick shower, he slumped into bed with a satisfied smile. He pulled out his spellbook as he laid there, beginning to read it. It was high time he had grown out of his crutch, but he still had a long way to go. And that's our video for the day, so thank you all for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it. Before I go, there's a little bit of housekeeping I want to do. First, We the Celestials has many other channels and content for your entertainment and viewing pleasures. All the information you'll need is right below in the description, so please feel free to check out all the other incredible content our team creates. Second, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details are also in the description. That's it for today's video, so thank you all for watching and have an amazing day. And as always, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and stay awesome! This has been Tim. Mustache out.